Yo, what up homies, Yanri Gogeta here, and in celebration of the release of Persona 5 Tactica and the upcoming Persona 3 Reload, I wanted to make a video looking back on the Persona series as a whole and make a list of the hardest trophies in each game of the series. There are 11 games that have trophy lists, and most of them aren't too bad, but there are several that would give you a big challenge if you decided you want to go for the Platinum Trophy. As someone who has nearly all the Platinum Trophies in the series and co-wrote guides for a few of the games, I figured this would make for an interesting discussion, so I really hope you enjoy it. Before we get into the game list though, I just want to ask very quickly that you like, comment, and subscribe. Alright, let's go. So first and definitely least on this list is going to be all of the dancing games. All three of them are extremely easy to 100%, so I won't spend too much time here. The hardest one in Persona 4 dancing is Born Entertainer, and all you need for this is to get a King Crazy ranking on a song, which can be done on any difficulty. You simply need to play a song and not get a rating below great on any note. Trust me, it's even easier than it sounds. Next is Persona 5 Dancing's trophy called the Ultimate Guide for Tricksters. This one asks you to view all of the dances with the main character, which basically means you need to play certain songs on certain difficulties. Not hard at all. And Persona 3 Dancing's trophy named the Dancing Anti-Shadow Weapon, god damn how many times do I have to say dancing, asks you to do the same thing for Aigis. Simple enough. Going into things that actually require some amount of effort is the Take Back the Future trophy in Persona 5 Royal. This trophy asks you to complete every dungeon in the game, and yes, the hardest trophy in this game is to simply get the true ending. Royal's trophy list was much easier than the vanilla game's trophy list. To get the true ending in Royal, you just need to complete specific confidants before a set date, and that would trigger the third semester content where you would move forward to get the trophy. I know this list may seem a bit dull, but trust me, there are actually some pretty hard trophies here soon. Next up is the Grand Thievery trophy in Persona 5 Tactica. In Tactica, there are missions you can complete to gain awards, and these missions have set stipulations like clearing within a set amount of turns, winning without any party members dying, and defeating all enemies. Most of the missions have similar objectives, and the game itself isn't too difficult, so the trophy isn't too hard. There are about 45-ish missions you need to complete, but the gameplay in Tactica is actually really solid, so it doesn't feel like a chore. I think the biggest surprise here is how good the game actually ended up being, because honestly I wasn't expecting much out of it. Now finally, a trophy that is actually quite troublesome, and that is the Eternal Bonds trophy in Persona 5 Strikers. This trophy requires you to unlock all the bond skills in the game, and to do so you need to max out the bond level. The concept is simple enough, but it takes a long ass time to max out these levels. Even by using the fastest method to grind it out, it still took me 10 hours of straight grinding, and this grinding method is agonizingly boring. The method I'm referring to is located in the Osaka part of the game. When you get to Osaka, there is a Billiken statue you can pray to and rub the feet of, and each time you do this, it grants you a small sum of bond points, and you have to do this for 10 hours. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, but it isn't very hard, it's just really time consuming. There are a couple of other methods that are a bit slower, but they're less mind-numbing. You can do a quest near the end of the game to kill a Metatron enemy over and over for bond points, or you can simply do New Game Plus and get bond points that way. Regardless of the method you choose, you're in for a grind. Speaking of grind, the top 5 of the remaining trophies basically require just that. The 5th hardest Persona trophy in my eyes is the Bookworm trophy in Persona 5 Vanilla. This trophy asks you to read all of the books in the game. Now, some may disagree with me on this one, but just hear me out. The twins fight really isn't that difficult because as long as you perform the proper setup on New Game Plus, which honestly doesn't take that long, then you can beat them with almost no challenge whatsoever. And most of the other trophies for the game inadvertently are basically required for this trophy as well, and it's quite easy to miss a book. There are books you can get for completing requests, buying them from the stores, and you can get them from the school library. There is a limited amount of time in Persona to do everything you need to do, so trying to find time to read all 34 books is hard because they take multiple sessions to read until you get the speed reader book. But you don't get access to that until you proceed a good amount into the game. The other thing that makes this trophy a pain in the ass is the fact that you can only check out one book from the Shujin library at once. And this wouldn't be too bad if it weren't for the fact that after November 18th in game, you lose access to this library. So you have to find a way to prioritize reading these first while making sure you don't forget a book from a request or buying one from the store. There's just a bunch of things to keep track of when it comes to reading all of the books, so that's why I believe it's one of the hardest in the game above all else. I put it over even the trophy for maxing all of the confidants because Persona 5 gives you a pretty large grace period to finish them all near the end of the game, but with the Bookworm, you can easily miss it. The confidants aren't as hard to miss in my opinion. Moving on from the Bookworm trophy, we go into the 4th hardest trophy, which in my eyes is the hardcore reset trophy from Persona 4 Golden. Now I can already foresee people getting ready to type in the comments that this is way too low on the list and should be higher, but I truly think people overestimate how hard this trophy actually is. It's quite difficult, yes, but there's no chance I can put it over the other trophies on this list. For those unaware, the hardcore reset trophy asks you to hear 250 of Risei's navigator lines. Once Risei is recruited to your party, she will become the navigator and give you information on the enemies and give moral support to the party. I'm not entirely sure exactly how many lines she has in the game, but it's probably hovering anywhere between 330 to 400 lines, so it wants you to hear well over half the lines in the game. This is quite a tall task because there are some lines that can be extremely hard to hear, and it depends entirely on RNG. There are strategies to make it easier, like cycling through the analysis button to re-roll what lines she may say, but you need to have certain conditions met. Risei has lines for every possible status in the game, and she has them for each character, examples being a character dying, a character being hit with an ailment, and things along those lines. So basically what you have to do to get this trophy is cycle through your party members and put them through absolute hell to get all the conditions met for as many navigator lines as possible. Get them poisoned, kill them, debuff them, and anything else you can think of. Risei has lines for everything, and you gotta do whatever you can to get 250 of them. In my opinion, the most frustrating part of this trophy is that there is no indication of how many you have or which ones you have, so you have to keep track of it all on your own, or keep mindlessly grinding until it's done. So yeah, this trophy is pretty annoying and pretty difficult for sure, and that's why it deserves number 4 on this spot. Coming in at number 3 is a cut above from Persona 3 Portable. It's pretty fitting that Persona 4 and Persona 3 got 4th and 3rd if respectively. A cut above asks you to defeat the optional bosses, which are either Elizabeth or Theodore depending on the protagonist you choose to play. The reason I choose the Velvet Attendant boss for this game and not P4 or P5 is because this is one of the hardest bosses in Persona in my opinion. The amount of things you need to keep track of takes a big toll, and if you mess up, then the boss will instantly kill you. You need to have a perfectly set up build for the fight. You have to make sure you keep track of the boss's health at all times. You have to keep track of what attacks the boss is hitting you with. And you have to do it while continuously doing damage and not taking too long. Failure to do any of these will result in a swift loss. The hardest part about the fight is definitely the preparation part though. Since you need such specifically built personas, it can be a big pain in the ass to get everything ready. And you also need your protagonist at level 99. One of the personas you need is the ultimate persona Orpheus Telos, which requires you to max every social link in the game. Once you have that, you gotta put specific skills on that persona and all the other required personas, which then requires you to grind levels on other personas besides those personas to get the skill cards needed. So overall, it's just a big headache. The setup and fights for all the other bosses in the series are infinitely easier, so that's why a cut above deserves its spot at number 3. So, what could possibly be harder than the hardest boss in Persona at the number 2 spot? Well, that would be none other than the Adachi's Letter Trophy in Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. This trophy asks you to complete all of Adachi's combo challenges, and while this may not be difficult for someone who is familiar with fighting games, I think it's safe to say the majority of people watching this are not. What's funny is that Adachi's combo trials are pretty damn tricky even for people familiar with fighting games as well. Some of them require pretty weird timing which can throw you off. Adachi has 25 challenges, which is 5 less than most because he doesn't have a shadow type variant, but I will most certainly not complain about that. Overall, there isn't much to say about this trophy. It's just really difficult if you're not familiar with fighting games. Combo trials are about what you would expect. The same cannot be said for the next trophy on this list though. Can I just say how long I've been downloading updates for this video? I mean, like PlayStation 3 downloads so slow. Like y'all gotta drop a like on the video or something for this, man, please. So, what is the hardest Persona trophy in history? By far and away, it is the C'est Magnifique trophy in Persona 4 Arena Vanilla. This trophy is so unbelievably difficult that I had to make an entire video dedicated to it. That video will pop up at the top right of the screen now if you want to watch, but for context, there is a trophy in this game for completing all of the combo trials, and I'd say this is at least 3 times harder than that. So by logic, this trophy is harder than the number 2 spot by about 15 times. This is a pretty arbitrary multiplication, of course, but it's easy to say that this is by far and away the hardest trophy in Persona. This trophy asks you to complete the score attack mode with every character in the game. This doesn't sound too bad at first, but once you start the very first fight, you see why this is so difficult. The AI is on the hardest difficulty and they are on boss mode. Boss mode gives the characters an absurd amount more health, damage, and character specific buffs. For example, Yosuke always has a Sukukaja install, which makes him remarkably fast. What this mode ends up boiling down to is needing to hit your opponent a good 10 times at least and getting hit no more than once. Oh, you want to hear the best part? You have to beat all 13 boss mode characters in a row without losing, the final one being the super boss Elizabeth. If you lose once, you have to restart from the very beginning, and you have to do this with every character in the game. Sounds fun, right? So to put this in perspective, this is the equivalent of fighting Elizabeth or Theodore in Persona 3 Portable 169 times, since that's how many fights you'll have to win at the minimum by the end. There are 13 characters to beat and 13 characters to complete the mode with, so multiply that and you get 169. It's honestly just bullshit, and I can't believe this trophy even exists. To be completely honest, I think this might be the hardest fighting game trophy of all time, and also one of the hardest trophies on PlayStation 3 at large, and that's a massive statement if you know trophy hunting. So with said magnifique detailed, that is my list of the hardest trophies in each Persona game ranked from the easiest to the hardest. Do you agree with the list or do you disagree? Feel free to let me know in the comments below. Maybe this list will end up being completely shaken up by the time Persona 3 Reload comes out, but only time will tell. With that being said though, if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. It would help the channel a lot, and I love you forever. Alright, it's been your boy Yandere Gogeta, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out, have a good day. For a night like this, put your hands up, love the moment even from dusk.